Okay. You know, we did this, right? When we reviewed Show Dogs. And we were sitting there in the Show Dogs review, and we said, like, man, I don't know how this isn't going to be the worst movie of the year. I don't know, unless Dinesh D'Souza comes out with another movie. I don't know if he's got anything coming out this year. But then, lo and behold, it
Here,
turns out I cursed us.
here we are today.
Not even mad, man.
I
Like,
I am.
you are?
Oh, dude, I'm shaking with anger.
Oh, no.
I pushed the door to the theater open so hard I really think I broke my thumb.
Oh, Dave gives it two broken thumbs down. No, look, I mean, I almost feel when I was watching this movie like I did when I watched One Nation Under God last week, where I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm just kind of burnt out on this right now. I can't really rise up many emotions as I'm watching as I'm watching this because it's just kind of hitting all the notes that I thought it would. And plus, for me anyway, I'm like, this isn't really worth me getting mad at because that's the reaction a movie like this wants.
Yeah,
Like,
I understand that's the reaction he wants, but man,
so,
this was like I've seen and heard some fucked up shit in the past couple of years.
sure.
This was the most twisted, self-righteous bullshit.
I mean, yeah, yeah, of course.
And I know I knew that's what it was gonna be, but it was like last time when after being called, Klansman for 40 minutes, you and I got fed up.
Sure.
This one was literally like 2.5 hours of being called a fucking Nazi.
This one's about that. Like the other movie, Hillary's America from a couple of years ago was like, the movie that, you know, some old racist goes to just so he could lean over and go, see, I'm not a racist. This one, it's that again, but, Nazism, white supremacy, all that, just to go to and lean over and go, see, I'm not a white supremacist. That's what this movie is. And the movie is, I mean, it's made by a guy who's basically a troll, and he fancies himself a provocateur. He puts a reaction like we gave to Hillary's America is the reaction he wants, that he thrives on. Like, he wants people to who are of a certain party and certain political leaning to get mad and storm out of the theater and yell and complain and all of that. This movie does the same thing again. So I'm sitting there like, I can't. That's just what this movie is. It's just a troll on screen just trying to get a rise. He's not trying to convert him. I mean, there's a part in the movie where he brings up his last movie and is kind of crediting himself for
Hillary losing the
yeah,
election.
for the election. And no, that's like saying that a movie like if you enjoy this movie, you're already just kind of this mindset. Same with Hillary's America. It's like that would be like the makers of God's Not Dead gloating that an atheist went to go see it and converted to Christianity. Is most likely probably not the case, and that's the case with this too.
Yeah.
This movie's not very good.
No, because besides it being full of lies and bullshit, I will say maybe he's right about one little aspect of comparing progressive liberals to the Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
We actually know how to make movies.
It's this. Here's what disappoints me the most about this movie. Like, I've spent the last 6 days like editing and re-editing the Hillary's America video. Like, I've now seen that movie more times than people who like it. So what disappoints me about this movie is that it's much lazier than his last film. Like, I wanted my hologram Klansman in this movie. And I
almost got there. Almost. We were seconds away from it.
We almost got there. Like, there's a couple funny parts with the reenactments, but nothing compared to a hologram Klansman from Hillary's America, or the part where it's showing, like, the actress playing Hillary, like, just smack a guy's papers out of his hands when she's walking through the hallway in the last movie. This movie does have, you know, reenactments and things like that in it, but there's a high percentage of it that's just reused from the last movie.
Yeah, no, like, it's fucking lazy.
Right down to Woodrow Wilson watching Birth of a Nation. It shows that again in this, and I was really excited, because I was like, oh, well, are we going to see hologram Klansman? No, it cuts right before then. Like, the stuff with the slaves, things with Lincoln and things like that are all, like, reused again from the last movie. It feels like a very quick film. It feels like a movie that probably didn't take very long to piece together, because it's a lot of footage from his previous films. Even just a lot of the same talking points. I don't know what you mean by quick
film, because this movie felt like it took fucking years to watch.
More like Dinesh D'Souza. So, yeah, but yeah, I mean, the movie is, I think, like an hour, 40 minutes or something like that. But this movie is kind of being sold like it's comparing Trump to Abraham Lincoln. That's really just the last 2 minutes of this movie.
Yeah.
Other than that,
it's all lambasting liberals as being essentially fascists and Nazis.
Yeah,
and we're the real racists.
Yeah, it's doing that again from his last movie, where it's like, well, you know, Democrats were the party of racism, so that means that they are today. Hitler was a progressive, so that means that progressives are Nazis. It's just all that again. Like, you kind of know what you're getting into when you're watching this. It's just wash, rinse, repeat a lot of the same shit that he's gone over in the past again, just for like an hour and 40 minutes. It's a quick movie just to kind of shit out in theaters to get people on Twitter and critics mad. I mean, this has like a 0%, I think,
and
on
get
Rotten
himself
Tomatoes.
a fucking pardon too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because somewhere right in the middle of the movie is like, oh, I witnessed firsthand the bullying tactics of the liberal.
He committed
government, and it's like, motherfucker, you committed a crime, you got caught, and you went to a place where you got to sleep in bunk beds in a giant room for 30 fucking days. Fuck you. You committed a crime, you got caught, you served time. That's the way the legal system fucking works.
I like that at the end, because it has like it has similar things towards the end, where it's showing like a montage of, you know, America and corn and the Statue of Liberty, and there's someone there singing a song about America, and I thought the movie was going to be over at that point, because that was kind of
comes right back in.
Yeah, there's still about 15 minutes left after that. I thought it was going to be over at that point, because that was how his last movie ended, but no, it comes back again, where it's him saying like, what must we do to fight liberalism, and you know, before this happens, and it shows a woman being beheaded. Okay, and then it plays another musical montage again, and then it finally ends. So like the beheading part was like the closest it gets to like the Klansman coming out of the movie screen. Before then, my favorite reenactment in the movie was the movie opens with CGI bombs landing on Hitler's bunker, and then it shows Hitler commit suicide, and then later on it's showing a younger Hitler
from World War I.
Yeah,
same actor, just a bigger mustache.
With the cheapest giant mustache that he just stuck on this guy's face. The fake mustache I wore when Doug and I were the Mario Brothers in the Passion of the Christ review is way more realistic than the mustache he's got here. That got a pretty good laugh out of me. I want to see Dinesh D'Souza's, like, Canadian Bacon. I want to see him do, like, you know, like a movie like like that outside of the genre that he typically works in. I want to see a full movie of of crazy ass Dinesh D'Souza reenactment.
Well, if he was talented and could actually make a movie, it would probably end up being something like a really shitty version of Forrest Gump.
It would look like whenever Uwe Boll tries to make a serious movie.
Yeah.
Like when Uwe Boll did that Auschwitz movie, or his like Wall Street movie. Like it would probably look and feel a little something like that. Because take politics out of it and the message out of it and things like that. This dude's just not a good filmmaker.
No.
like he really isn't. I mean, there were a couple of parts in this movie where you could see like seeds of a point he was trying to make when it's showing a montage of people just not taking Trump seriously during the election and during the primary season, which there's a point to be made there. And I remember even saying that at the time, like, okay, you're laughing.
Listen, like, it's funny, but it's still kind of serious.
Yeah, like, you're laughing at this guy, but it's not going to surprise me if this guy wins the primary. Like, okay, yeah, it's funny to joke about all this and things like that because of the absurd-ass shit that he's doing and the fact that he's Donald Trump, but let's be honest, it's not like he doesn't have a chance. And so he's making a point there when he's showing a lot of that those montages, but then he'll follow it up by saying, "Oh, I didn't think he had a chance either." And I'm like, well, then what are you bashing all these other people for? And there was a weird part too where he okay, so he's showing the Nazi platform where it's talking about
universal health care and basic things that like almost every government in the world and an industrialized nation strives for, like healthcare, freedom of speech, like basic things.
No, dude, that's Hitler talk.
Yeah, it's Hitler talk, but conveniently leaves out the part where he's like, "Hey, let's kill all the Jews and the gypsies." Right?
But I mean, he says that he's like, doesn't that sound a little bit like Bernie Sanders? I'm like, what? I don't know. I don't think Bernie Sanders wants to exterminate the Jews. I don't think so.
He is a Jew.
so I mean, there was that point in the movie, and then he's talking about how progressives of today should be compared to Hitler back then because Hitler had gays serving in the military, and I'm sitting there.
As long as they kept it quiet, it was okay.
I'm sitting there, so I'm like, well, what are you saying, man? In order to be conservative on your side, you have to be homophobic? And there's a part where because in a lot of interview segments that he has in the movie, he's
so horribly edited together.
Yeah, they're very edited together, and he uses a lot of interview tactics where he's telling the person the point that he's trying to make, where it's a lot of like, so what you're saying is, and so isn't it true that, like, things like that, where he's wanting to get a certain reaction from the person and then putting that in the movie. And most of the interviews are like that. But there was a moment where it's the part with him and Richard Spencer where
Richard Spencer was just like, no.
But that part, now by the end of that part, yeah, he's doing what he's normally doing in a movie like this, where he's drifting the conversation in one way to
prove his bullshit point.
Well, to say that, well, you know, Richard Spencer and people on the alt-right have, you know, progressive ties and things like that. So really, when you look at like the white supremacist rallies and shit like that, really those are like, you know, progressives out there. Like he's like, that's where he's kind of trying to spin it there by the end of that conversation. But there were moments in the conversation before then, which was unlike other interviews in it, where for a moment it felt like two people having a conversation, where he is bringing up like, you've had all these rallies with all of these imagery like the Nazi salute and Confederate flags and things like that, and you support Trump, don't you think that kind of hurts Trump a little bit and is giving fuel to say that, you know, they're all white supremacists and Nazis and everything like that? So there's a moment there where it sort of feels like a real conversation. Then by the end of it, it's like, okay, he's just kind of trying to say Richard Spencer's a progressive. Let's listen to some music for a little bit.
Sorry, I'm just
no,
rolling up
it's
the window.
fine. But even through all that, it's like, he's trying to say, well, they don't believe what Trump believes, so like they're different than Trump, and I'm like, well, they still support him.
Yeah, it's
And like, I mean, that's just this movie. Like, it's kind of, it's
I
the
don't
same as
think-
the last one.
I don't personally think that Donald Trump is a horribly, like, the worst of the worst as far as like monstrous things go. I think he is dumber than a bag of fucking rocks. I think he's got horrible policies. The worst thing about Donald Trump are the fucking idiots that believe anything that comes out of his fucking mouth.
Sure.
That's the worst thing about Donald Trump. Like, yeah, he's still scum, but you know, I don't think he's Hitler.
No. But
Hitler was at least charismatic.
All right, sure. No, this right, man.
Hitler could have filled the National Mall. Oh my god.
So is this the worst movie you've seen this year?
Oh, this is the worst movie I've seen in several years. This is...
Do you think this is worse than Hillary's America?
I never finished Hillary's America.
Oh, I did.
So,
You missed some gold, man.
I'm gonna say yes, because you know what? Like, half of this movie was Hillary's America.
That's true. Yeah.
I honestly think this was worse. This was...
He robot wars to this shit.
Yeah, this was just such a lazy piece of shit. Horribly researched. Just a bad argument, too. Like, you're gonna base your movie around a series of arguments. They need to at least make sense. His arguments don't make sense. They're fucking paper
Because
thin.
it's still a lot of, well, you know, they were like this 200 years ago, so that means they're still like this today. Like, I mean, he uses the same charts and graphs as he did in the last movie. Like, so I feel like I am reviewing the same movie again twice. I would say that this is a worse movie. I mean, I wasn't as mad at this one because I'd never seen a Dinesh D'Souza movie before I saw the last one, and had I had known more about him going into it, I probably wouldn't have left the movie.
No,
especially knowing that 30 seconds after we left there was a hologram Klansman. Then I definitely wouldn't have left.
Yeah, no, I gotta admit that, like, the last one was a lot more, like, the rage was there a lot more easily and quickly, and then we left. Because it was just so bad. This one, I think I'm just as angry, but I kind of knew what to expect going in.
Well, sure, yeah. It's like going into a second PureFlix movie.
But, like, yeah, there was a couple moments where it was just like, when they... I can't even really fucking remember because there's so many horrible things he says in this. But he said something about Elizabeth Warren, who is not my favorite politician.
It was the same thing he said about Bernie Sanders, where he's showing the Nazi platform.
Right.
He's like, doesn't that look familiar? This seems a lot like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Oh, man, what? They're Hitler? Oh, shit.
No, and that's when I was like, I have to go have a cigarette break. And then when we both came back and you went to the bathroom, that's when he's like, but Hitler was okay with the gays. And it's like, no, he wasn't. He wasn't. Like, even if maybe personally he was like, I don't really care about the gays, he still persecuted them politically. Like,
this movie is for the same audience that likes to say, like, hey, well, you know, Hitler was an atheist.
Yeah.
Or so, okay.
Yeah, so, like, I'm an atheist. I've never wanted to kill all the Jews. Like, one or two occasionally. But not because they're Jewish, because they're assholes. Like, there's a difference.
I mean, this movie's made by a guy who's just an asshole. Like, that's it. He's just a douchebag. Like, I've seen things that this guy has written, whether it's, you know, talking shit about kids who survived a mass shooting incident, like, whether it's things like that, and I'm like, because there's times when we've gone to see a bad religious movie that, you know, is like fucking horrible. But, you know, every now and then, sometimes I'm like, well, okay, I think like maybe this person's probably not like a bad dude in real life. I just disagree with a lot of stuff they're doing.
Like Kevin
here.
Sorbo.
Like, he is good with fans, I'll tell him.
He's good with fans. He's not a bad actor.
He's a very good actor.
Agree with anything he says, but I don't think he comes from necessarily a place of pure hate.
Well.
Okay, well, he's getting worse, isn't he? Yeah. Never mind. I take it back.
I mean, aside from, but I mean, at least Kevin Sorbo's got merits. He is a good actor. Like, even in that movie the other day, One Nation Under God, Laura and I said the same thing we say in everyone. Let There Be Light or God's Not Dead, where it's like, well, I mean, Sorbo was really good in the movie. Yeah. So it's like, well, I mean, at least, like, you know, Sorbo's really charismatic. He's good in front of the camera. He can deliver a solid performance in this wave of bullshit. Dinesh D'Souza doesn't have any screen presence. Like, no, he's not a good filmmaker.
And the older he gets, the more he looks like just a withered little fucking shit weasel of a man.
Yeah, dude.
Take
like, that, you Muppet. I mean, I said that in the
yeah. He does look like a fucking Muppet.
He does.
Yeah, he looks like if Kermit the Frog was sucking on a lemon and had jizz in his eye all at the same fucking time.
Damn it, I should have said that in the Snob episode. I think I said that he looked like a Muppet who looked too eager to the fact that his puppeteer coated his hand in hot sauce. I think that was just the note that I took there at the time. But no, this is a guy where I'm like, okay, you're just a douchebag. You seem like you're really not that good of a dude in real life. This is beyond, like, I know many people.
Like I said in the last review, if Ann fucking Coulter can't stand to be with you,
then the problem's probably you.
Exactly.
The problem's probably
if
you,
that
man. I'm just throwing that out there.
Horrid cunt doesn't want to be married to you, something's terribly wrong with you.
You got to look at yourself in the mirror, man. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You need to go see a therapist to retake that psychological exam. Apparently, they gave you when you went to jail. There's a lot of people, like really, really good, decent people out there that I, you know, certainly disagree with on political issues and things like that. I've got close friends, I got very close relatives who are on a different side of the aisle than I am, but I love them very much. They're still really, really good-hearted people. This movie's not made for that kind of person. Dinesh D'Souza doesn't seem like he's that kind of person.
No, he's a scumbag.
So I really don't recommend this movie.
No, like, listen, we paid money to go see this because it's kind of our job. Don't give this fucker money.
I used A-List and Movie Pass for this.
Yeah, don't give this fucker money. Don't give him attention. Like, I might tweet about this movie, but I'm never going to use the title. I'm never going to use that piece of shit's name.
Sure.
Don't give him anything. He's a horrible fucking person, and we will all be better off as a people, no matter what you fucking believe in, if he just fucking disappears.
There were moments in the movie where it seemed like that, where he disappeared into the background. There's one part.
No, there was one part where he's standing on the stairs where Hitler gave a speech.
And then he dissolves into Hitler?
Exactly.
You notice that too? There are weird edits in this movie like that.
Oh, that was an odd choice. I was like, motherfucker. Like, if you're going to do that fade in, stand to the fucking side.
Dude, I'm so glad you noticed that too, because I'm like, you're not a very good editor, man.
Yeah.
There's another part too, where in narration he says, and then we get to the biggest Nazi of our time. But the footage that's over that line is of Phil Donahue.
Yeah.
Like, and he's not, when he said that line, he's not talking about Donahue, but the way it was edited, I'm like, oh, someone's not a fan of Phil Donahue. Shit.
No shit. Yeah. The best part about this movie is that it is no discernibly different from his last movie in terms of bullshit, bad filmmaking, anything else. He's only the co-director on this.
Oh, I think that was also the case on the last one, because I think so, because Bruce Schooley is listed as his co-director and co-writer, and he He was at least co-writer on the last one too. I want to say he was also listed as co-director on that, but honestly, man, that could look. I don't know. I don't know how much that dude had a hand in directing like new footage of this movie, but that could
be from the last.
Could just be due to the fact that this movie reuses about 40 minutes of the last film. And co-directed by Bruno Mattei.
Oh my
okay. Yeah, no, I mean, like, at least when I watched Hillary's America again last week, I was like, well, some parts of this are kind of funny, and how over the top and acted it is. You could probably have a bad movie party with that. With this, I don't know. This one was more of a snooze fest. I wasn't sitting there mad just because for me it just didn't feel worth it to get mad at this movie. Is this the worst movie I've seen this year? Absolutely it is. Yeah. But I was more angry at Life of the Party.
Yeah, I'm still angry about this. Like, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna have a big glass. I have a nice bottle of rye at home. I'm gonna have a big glass of rye and just cry. I'm just gonna stand in my daughter's bedroom as she sleeps in the dark and drink my whiskey and cry and hope that the world is better for her than it is for us right now.
I'm gonna do the same thing but with Lloyd.
Yeah. It's fine. It's fine.
I am gonna drink after this, but that's because it's Monday. No, I really got nothing else to say about this, man.
I mean, no.
I mean, I'm glad it's over. I'm glad we made it through it.
Like, I apologize for everybody that turned on the live stream expecting to see me screaming directly at the camera, but
the movie got applause at the end of it, by the way. We weren't the only ones in there, but we were definitely the youngest by like 100 years. Dave and I saw like, oh man, there's people going in there, and we're like, don't worry, dude, we'll sit in the back. But they're all average age 95, and so they were all sitting in the back. And I'm like,
and they stood up
front.
Stood up and applauded with their feeble little hands, and I think they were just barely loud enough not to hear me bitching at them as I walked past.
This was their Star Wars. They had to applaud at the end of the fucking movie.
Jesus Christ.
Nah, Star Wars was more realistic.
No,
I love the guy. Yeah. I love the employee in the lobby, though, who's like looking at us, go like, so how is it, guys? We're like, that movie's pretty bad, man. And he's like, yeah, I might have to catch some of that on break. That shit sounds fucking insane.
Well, it's because when I went out for that cigarette, I was fully ready to just get in the car and drive away. That was my first thought. I was like, I'm fucking done. I'm leaving. And I, like, those guys, I'm like, sell alcohol, because that's bullshit. I'm fucking done. And the guy's like, whoa, man.
Damn, that dude really hates Equalizer too. I like
no,
that.
I was at Christopher Robin.
Fuck that shit. I like that the dude in the lobby with the big beard looked kind of like Lincoln from this movie. Lincoln doesn't really look like Lincoln in this. Like, yeah, he's got the beard, but he looks less like Lincoln and more like when you see a barista have that kind of beard.
You know what he looked like to me was like if Peter Capaldi from Doctor Who ate just a shit ton of Doritos and grew a beard.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you fill out the gaunt a little bit, but you still got the eyes and the nose, and then you put that shitty beard on him.
I'm surprised. The way this movie was, I'm surprised it didn't show clips of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter and say, hey, you know, the Republicans beat the vampires. There's one well-made moment in this movie, and it's when it shows a clip from Gangs of New York. Yeah. I could say the same thing about the last one when it showed a clip from Metropolis.
Yeah, yeah. With everything that they were talking about in this movie, I wouldn't be surprised if there was an after credit scene and it was fucking Trump and Lincoln sucking Reagan's cock.
I would be like, how the hell does this have a PG-13? Any final thoughts about this? I don't think I have anything else.
Fuck this movie and fuck you if you like it. Like, honestly, yeah, fuck you if you like this movie. You're a terrible person and fuck you.
So most likely worst film of the year by the end of the year.
I don't know what can top this.
See, you said that, but that means he's going to have another movie by the end of the year.
And it's gonna be
He
starring
could.
Tyler Perry.
Oh,
Like that's the
oh.
only fucking way.
No, dude, if that happens, best movie of the year.
Yeah, like I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, it like. Oh, by the way, I just have to bring this up because it was one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever seen in my entire life. Was Dinesh D'Souza and Richard Spencer both comparing Richard Spencer to Malcolm X. I just want you to take that in, soak it in, feel how that feels, but imagine it with clips of Malcolm X. Just feel how that feels. Richard Spencer, Malcolm X, same person. Same
I was
beliefs.
disappointed they showed actual footage of Malcolm X. I wanted to see. I wanted
Not
to see.
Denzel.
I wanted to. Well, yeah, that. And I wanted to see Dinesh D'Souza try to direct a reenactment of Malcolm X. All right, guys. We're gonna head out, but thanks for watching. We love you all very, very much. Take care.